Golf is normally a leisurely activity. The game flows along at a stately pace. But then every so often, the calm is interrupted by bursts of genius. This roll, the 18th hole on Sunday. Jack Nicklaus has this Open wrapped up, but he wants to end it with a flourish. He's 230 yards from the green, playing more like 250 because the green is above him. And even for Nicklaus, it's a monumental one-iron. Jack said that's as hard as he could swing. Now, Nicklaus plays for history. This is a putt to break Ben Hogan's U.S. Open scoring record. Nicklaus wins his second Open by shooting .275. It's 5 years later, another Open Sunday, and another Nicklaus one-iron for the ages, into the wind on the par 3 17th hole at Pebble Beach. And that extraordinary shot wrapped up another U.S. Open victory for Jack, his third. But Nicklaus was often foiled by Lee Trevino, who hit more than his share of special shots, like this one on the par 3 15th hole at Oak Hill in the 1968 Open. Jim McKay was there.
He hit the flagstick. Trevino came very close to putting that ball into the hole on the fly.
And Trevino foiled Nicklaus for the title. At the 1972 British Open at Muirfield, Nicklaus, having already won the Masters and the U.S. Open that year, was making a run at the Grand Slam. But Trevino was blessed that week. His bunker shot on the 16th hole during the third round. That was just the beginning. His chip shot on the 18th. That to conclude a magnificent round with 5 straight birdies. Trevino's brilliant 66 put him 6 shots ahead of Nicklaus. But during the final round, Nicklaus appeared to have cut Trevino when Lee butchered the par 5 17th. This was his 4th shot, and it scuttled over the green. Trevino looked likely to make at least a 6. But he holed out again. And when Trevino parred the 18th, he won by a stroke and ended Jack's hope for the Grand Slam. Trevino had a penchant for holing out. He was still at it when the Skins games rolled around in the 80s. Here's his 3rd shot on the par 5 7th at PGA West.
That's what I was aiming at. I mean, that's no lucky shot, folks. I have been working on that shot for about 47 years.
And a year later, in the 1987 Skins game, Trevino on the tee of the par 3 17th hole at the PGA West course. And that's another shot he's been practicing. Meanwhile, the Nicklaus-Trevino rivalry rolled along. They had a great duel at the 1990 USGA Senior Open at Ridgewood in New Jersey. This was Trevino's 2nd shot with a short iron on the 10th. And he just about holed that out, too. Trevino began the round a shot behind Nicklaus. By the time he reached the tee at the par 3 15th hole, he'd caught him.
Yes. Sit down.
This putt for a birdie. And Trevino urges the crowd to send a message to Jack, who's a hole behind. So when Jack reaches the 15th, he has to answer. He does so with a shot inside 10 feet and a birdie of his own to stay a shot behind Trevino. Up ahead, Trevino plays into the par 4 16th. Another birdie putt. And once again, he wants Jack to hear about it. Jack heard all right. His response? A handsome iron shot into the 16th green.
Get in the hole.
Where it kisses off Gary Player's ball. Nicklaus is a tough bear to shake. And when he rolls this birdie putt in, he's back to within a shot of Trevino. When Lee pars out, he senses victory. He walks into the ABC booth to watch Jack try to catch him. Jack has to hold this putt and then birdie the 18th to tie him.
Should be just inside right, Leo. Jack has a habit of peeking at these, though. Slides them off to the right. Oh, give me that trophy. Give me that trophy.
Another memorable Nicklaus duel, this time with Chichi Rodriguez at the 1991 Senior Open at Oakland Hills. The scene is the uphill par 3 17th hole that gave everyone fits on Sunday. Nobody could carry the ball on the green and keep it near the hole. Nobody except Jack Nicklaus. That for a rare birdie, too, and a one-shot lead. Up ahead on the difficult 18th, Chichi in the fairway with a 6-iron and needing a birdie to tie. He plays an astonishing shot. A big, sweeping hook to take advantage of a ridge that diverts the ball toward the hole. It's the only way he could get it close. All that was left was a 2-footer for a birdie to tie Nicklaus and set up an 18-hole playoff Monday. Chichi said it looked to him like 40 feet. Chichi ran into a buzzsaw in the playoff. Here's Jack playing his 3rd shot on the par 4 7th hole. One of 7 birdies he made that day. Rodriguez, although far behind, still had another feat of gravity to exhibit on the par 3 9th. His tee shot carries well past the hole. Well, it was well past the hole at one time. But despite that magic, this was Jack Nicklaus's day. Here he is on the 17th. Didn't we see that shot 20 years ago at Pebble Beach? Jack shot a remarkable 65 that day and beat Chichi by 4 shots. Next, how to get under par in a hurry. It's Curtis Strange at the 1988 U.S. Open. 3rd shot on the par 5 14th hole in the opening round. That's an eagle 3. It's the 1984 Women's Open at the Salem Country Club in Massachusetts, and Hollis Stacy is in the rough on the 13th hole with a 7-iron. Hollis Stacy tried to stay calm while on her way to her 3rd Women's Open victory. Here's Mitch Voges in the final match of the 1991 National Amateur Championship at the Honors Course near Chattanooga. This is third shot at the par 5 11. Nothing to it. Voges going on to win by a convincing margin of 7 and 6. Over to St. Andrews, where in the 1990 British Open, Greg Norman plays his third shot on the par 5 14th with a sand wedge, which means lots of backspin. Indeed. Same course, same championship, but now it's the 18th, and Nick Faldo with an entirely different method. Nick plays the classic bump and run through the Valley of Sin, and bingo. And while we're on British Opens, here's a precious moment. Gene Sarazen, then 70 years old, went back to play at Troon in 1973. It's the 8th, the famous postage stamp. What a wonderful memory. A rarity in championship golf is a course that begins with a par 3. But such is the case at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's in England. This was Lanny Watkins starting the final round of the 1988 Open. What a beginning. Here's golf's rarest of winged creatures, the double eagle. It's a 1983 British Open at Royal Birkdale at the par 5 15th, playing straight downwind, easily reached in 2, and Bill Rogers reached it. 3 under par in just 1 hole. Here are some shots that were crucial for Open Championship winners. Hubert Green was leading the 1977 U.S. Open at Southern Hills when a caller threatened his life. That's why those troopers with the guns are behind him. Clinging to the lead, Green played on. This was his third shot to the par 5 16th. Now that's what you call winning under pressure. This was Hale Irwin at the 1979 U.S. Open at Inverness. Irwin with a 2-iron, the ball above his feet, up the hill on the par 5 13th. That set up an eagle and a brilliant round of 67. Irwin won his second Open that year. This was Greg Norman in his finest hour, winning the 1986 British Open at Turnberry. In the 4th round, with a 7-iron on the par 4 14th hole, he gouges it out of the rough. And hits the flagstick to set up his birdie. It's amazing to think that to date, this is Norman's only major championship victory. Now to the great Spaniard, Seve Ballesteros, here dueling with Nick Price in the 4th round at Lytham in the 1988 British Open. A short iron into the 16th hole. On the 18th hole, Seve had to get down in 2 from an awkward spot to win the championship. What a shot. Ballesteros is surely the right man to introduce great short shots. This was Seve when we first saw him as a teenager in the 1976 British Open at Royal Birkdale. In big trouble at the 18th. Chris Schinkel and Dave Marr were there.
Here it comes. Good shot. Good shot. Look at that. Good shot. My goodness. Holy mackerel. Huh? That's tremendous. Huh? That's that young nerve,
Tom Watson, another short game magician, below the green on the 18th hole at Oak Hill in the 1989 U.S. Open.
Yes!
Where did it go? The left-handed genius in waiting, Phil Mickelson, with the same sort of lob shot, his specialty during the final match of the 1990 U.S. Amateur Championship. Need we tell you who won? Mickelson is something of a trickster. Here's one he developed in his backyard in San Diego. It's a famous backwards over-the-shoulder routine. We recommend that you not try that shot without the permission of your doctor, your professional, and your psychiatrist. And back to real golf. Payne Stewart with a long bunker shot on the 9th hole during the 1985 U.S. Open at Oakland Hills. Same Open, but this time perhaps the most infamous of short shots. T.C. Chin, cruising along in the lead in the final round, came to the par 4 fifth, to the right of the green and 2 in some of the Open's notorious rough. The dreaded double hit, when one swing counts as 2 strokes and the ball goes off at a funny angle. A shocked Chin took an 8 and lost the Open. This turned out to be the shot of that 1985 U.S. Open. It's Andy North in a deep bunker to the right of the 17th green, needing to save par. A sensational shot. It was the critical stroke for North as he won his 2nd U.S. Open. Here's a vivid illustration of how good these people are around the greens. It's Raymond Floyd on Saturday at the 1986 Open at Shinnecock Hills. Floyd deliberately played into that bunker, knowing he could never stop the ball downwind. Take that. That little work of art put Raymond in the mood to play a sensational 4th round when he won the 1986 U.S. Open. But here's a bunker that no one plays into deliberately. It's that nasty pit of sand guarding the green on the famous road hole, the 17th at St. Andrews. Here was Brian Barnes of Scotland on the road hole green in the 1978 British Open. A bit of a miscalculation, wouldn't you say? And what a price that bunker extracted from Tommy Nakajima in the 1978 British Open. Even as you and I, he kept doing this wretched thing over and over. Ultimately, it came down to this, his 4th shot from that bunker, which was then labeled the Sands of Nakajima. Occasionally, the road hole and its bunker can be handled, as it was by Doug Sanders as he tried to hold off Jack Nicklaus in the 1970 British Open. Sanders, clinging to a 1-stroke lead in a gale, put his 2nd shot in the bunker. Then for the ages, he played this bunker shot to hold the lead. But alas, Sanders missed a tiny putt on the 18th, and Nicklaus beat him in a playoff. And how about this one for the ages? Tom Kite, en route to victory at the 1992 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, faced this impossible chip shot from the left of the famous 7th hole.
Hit it! Yeah!
The shoes and socks belong to Curtis Strange, thwarted by the stuff roads are made of, stones. Curtis figured out spikes and stones are a bad mixture. To retain his balance, he went at it barefooted. He didn't just hit it, he hit it just right. He factored in the tilt of the green, and there you have it from a master. What can be said about a putt other than it went in? A putt is a putt, right? Well, not always. Here's Mike Donald being creative with the toe of his putter in an attempt to foil the U.S. Open greenside rough. Very nice. And Payne Stewart did the same thing during the third round in the throes of winning his Open title at Hazeltine in 1991. A storm postponed the end of the 1983 Open's final round Sunday. Larry Nelson and Tom Watson were tied. When play resumed Monday morning, the first stroke Nelson had to play was this 60-foot putt, clear across the 16th green. And with that, Nelson went on to win the Open. Another magnificent Open putt came in 1984. Greg Norman off the 18th green at Winged Foot in the final round. It's a par 4, but Norman lies 3. This is a wicked putt on a wicked green. And he made it to stay tied with the man waiting down the fairway. Fuzzy Zoeller heard the roar. In one of the game's memorable vignettes, Zoeller enacts a mock surrender. Fuzzy managed to par the 18th and set up an 18-hole playoff. In the playoff, the critical shot was also a putt, a 90-foot monster on the second hole by Zoeller. By the time they reached the 18th hole, Zoeller led by 8 strokes. It was Norman's turn to surrender. Another U.S. Open playoff, this time in 1988. Curtis Strange versus Nick Faldo. It's a 13th hole. And here's how the simple act of putting can be thrilling if the stakes are high and the greens are lightning fast. Finally, 2 putts by Payne Stewart, both on the 16th green at Hazeltine in the 1991 U.S. Open. On Saturday, when the round was getting away from him, Payne had this putt for a par. The fuse is lit. In a playoff with Scott Simpson, Stewart was 2 shots behind coming to the 16th, a 20-footer for a birdie. That turned it completely around. Simpson then missed a short putt, and Stewart went on to win. Of course, what we remember so vividly are the faces. We've never seen as much joy in Jack Nicklaus as in 1980 while he was winning his 4th U.S. Open at Ballesteros in a classic struggle with Japan's Isao Aoki. This, for example, on the 17th hole on Sunday. A birdie followed by another at 18. And once again at Ballesteros, Jack broke the Open scoring record. And the indelible image of Seve Ballesteros to win the British Open with a birdie at St. Andrews on the last green. The dream of every golfer. And the ultimate reaction in golf. Hale Irwin on the 72nd green at Medina in 1990 at age 45 from 70 feet. Sheer joy and the need to celebrate his 3rd U.S. Open championship. Now we offer the greatest shots of all in opens. The British Open was never better than at Turnberry in 1977, when Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus engaged in a classic duel. Watson was one shot behind and in danger of losing another as he putted from off the green at the par 3 15th hole. A spectacular birdie, and the two were tied with 3 holes to go. After a birdie at 17, giving him the lead, Watson hit a magnificent iron into the final green. That figured to do it, because Nicklaus was going to have trouble playing any kind of shot from the right rough. Jack gouged the ball out with an 8-iron. And just caught a piece of the green, but it was some 40 feet away. And because his name is Jack Nicklaus, he made it. That forced Watson to make his little putt and brought to an end the greatest duel in the history of golf. This majestic pair lapped the field. Nicklaus, runner-up by a stroke, was fully 10 shots ahead of his nearest competitor. And the ultimate shot. We're at the 17th green at Pebble Beach, this time in the 1982 U.S. Open, with Tom Watson about to play his second shot. He needs 2 pars to tie Nicklaus, who is finished and watching from the scorer's tent. Par is no cinch from this spot off the green. Jim McKay and Dave Marr were there.
Looks good.
Done.
Looks good. Do you believe it? Do you believe
What
it?
can you say? Tom Watson, pitching into the hole for a birdie, has taken the lead in the U.S. Open. One more par, and he's finally won it. We said high drama on the shores of Carmel Bay, and that's what it's turned out to be.
Needing only to par the 18th to win, Watson did better. By holding this putt for birdie, he won his only U.S. Open championship and climaxed a day in golf that will never be forgotten. A fitting end to the first volume of golf's greatest shots.